The server room light flickers, a rhythmic pulse that casts long, jagged shadows across the rows of blinking hardware. It is 3 in the morning, and the silence of the facility is broken only by the high-pitched whine of cooling fans working at maximum capacity. I step toward the main console. The primary monitor is a wall of scrolling red text, a relentless cascade of failed login attempts that refuses to slow down. A sophisticated brute force attack is tearing through the perimeter, hammering at the gates of the network with thousands of requests per second. I pull the chair back, the metal legs scraping harshly against the floor, and drop into the seat. My fingers hover over the mechanical keyboard. The air in the room feels thin, charged with the static of a system pushed to its absolute limit. Every blink of the server lights represents a potential breach, a crack in the foundation of the entire organization. I do not have the luxury of hesitation. The intruder is fast, but the architecture is mine to control. I tap the terminal, clearing the noise from the dashboard to isolate the source. I take a steady breath, lock my focus, and prepare to execute. I execute the first command. The screen blinks, and the network-wide multi-factor authentication protocol initializes. Every administrative account now demands a secondary biometric token, a digital key that the intruder cannot replicate. For a heartbeat, the attack intensity spikes. The intruder senses the closing door and hammers harder, trying to force a bypass before the handshake completes. The server fans scream, a rising pitch of mechanical defiance. I watch the progress bar crawl across the display. Then, it hits 100%. The flood of requests stalls, stuttering against the new authentication wall. I do not stop there. I shift the system architecture to role-based access control, stripping every elevated privilege from the compromised credentials. The effect is immediate. The scrolling red text on the monitor slows, then turns into a rhythmic, repetitive pulse of failure. Access denied. Access denied. Access denied. The intruder is no longer a ghost in the machine. They are a trespasser hitting a locked vault. I watch the logs as the unauthorized attempts fail in rapid succession, each one a testament to the new barrier. The system begins to stabilize, the frantic blinking of the hardware rows settling into a steady, controlled rhythm. The intruder is not retreating. They have pivoted. The monitor displays a new, alarming trend. Unauthorized outbound traffic spikes. They are attempting to siphon sensitive packets directly from the memory buffer. I watch the data stream, a blur of raw information flowing toward an unknown external IP. If that data leaves the network, the breach becomes a catastrophe. I initiate the encryption protocol. My fingers fly across the keys, deploying asymmetric encryption across every active port. The effect is instantaneous. The outgoing packets, once transparent, collapse into complex, unreadable ciphertext. The intruder is still intercepting, but they are capturing nothing but noise. I do not stop there. I verify the digital signatures of every incoming file, stripping away the possibility of malicious injection. The stream of data on my screen changes. The erratic, high-volume spikes settle into a predictable, encrypted flow. I watch the attacker's tools struggle to parse the scrambled information. They are blind. The power balance shifts back to the defender. I lean back, watching the terminal logs confirm the integrity of the encrypted tunnel. The data is no longer a vulnerability. It is a fortress. The system is no longer leaking. It is breathing, steady, and secure. The intruder realizes the data is a dead end and shifts tactics. The network perimeter erupts in a cascade of red alerts. They are no longer just probing. They are slamming against the firewall, searching for a physical gateway. My monitor flashes a warning. Unauthorized lateral movement detected. The malware is attempting to jump from the primary server to the internal database. I watch the connection logs bleed red as the intruder exploits a legacy port. The pressure is immense. I initiate the intrusion prevention system, but the attack volume is overwhelming the automated filters. I have to intervene manually. My fingers blur across the console, overriding the default settings and tightening the firewall rules. I drop every packet from the suspicious IP range, one by one. The system groans under the load, the server fans spinning into a high-pitched whine. The intruder senses the tightening net and accelerates their attempts. The perimeter is buckling, but it is holding. I am fighting for every millisecond, forcing the intruder back into the corner of the network. The intruder is cornered, but they are not finished. They sense the closing net and launch a final, desperate attempt to jump to the internal database. The screen flashes a critical alert. Unauthorized process migration detected. If that malware reaches the database, the entire network will collapse. I do not hesitate. I execute the segmentation command, carving the compromised server out of the main network architecture. The connection lines on my map turn gray as the server is severed from the core. I push the final configuration. The sandbox. The malware is now trapped in a vacuum, a digital cage with no exit. I watch the activity logs. The intruder is still executing commands, but they are hitting the walls of the sandbox, unable to see or reach the rest of the system. The lateral movement stops instantly. The frantic, high-volume traffic that was flooding the internal network drops to a trickle. The silence that follows is absolute. The malware is contained, isolated, and neutralized within its own artificial environment. I verify the isolation. The sandbox is secure. The intruder is trapped, but the system remains exposed. I shift my focus to the core. Every open port is a potential doorway, and every unpatched service is a welcome mat for the attacker. I run the diagnostic script, and the terminal scrolls through a list of vulnerabilities. There it is, a legacy service running on port 443, the very crack the intruder used to gain entry. My heart hammers against my ribs as I initiate the lockdown. I execute the command to disable all unused ports and services, one by one. The system responds with a series of confirmation pings. The attack surface is shrinking, folding in on itself until there is nowhere left for the intruder to hide. I deploy the emergency patch, watching the progress bar crawl toward completion. The code compiles, overwriting the compromised sectors and sealing the breach. The intruder is still thrashing in the sandbox, but their tools are failing, their exploits rendered useless by the hardening. I feel the adrenaline surge as the system stabilizes under my command. I am not just blocking the attack anymore. I am dismantling the intruder's entire operational capacity. The dashboard lights up, confirming the patch is live and the vulnerability is closed. The intruder's path is gone. The system is no longer a target. It is a fortress. The SIEM dashboard pulses with a rhythmic crimson alert, mapping the final remnants of the intruder's footprint across the sector map. They are still there, clinging to the corrupted sectors like a parasite. I initiate the incident response protocol, Eradication. My fingers fly across the keys, selecting the compromised blocks. Before I can trigger the wipe, the intruder makes a final, desperate move, attempting to corrupt the off-site cloud backup. The screen flickers, showing a stream of garbage data flooding the connection. I hold my breath, forcing a manual integrity check on the cloud storage. The verification bar crawls forward, green light finally flashing. Integrity confirmed. I do not hesitate. I execute the wipe command. The infected sectors vanish, replaced by a clean, silent void. I immediately trigger the cloud restore, pulling the pristine data back into the system. The progress indicators race across the screen, overwriting the hollow spaces. The crimson alerts on the dashboard fade, replaced by a steady, calm blue. The system is clean. The parasite is gone. The screen is clear, but the network remains a ghost town. I initiate the recovery phase, bringing the core services back online one by one. The first terminal pings, a steady heartbeat in the silence of the server room. I watch the load balancer distribute traffic, scanning for any sign of the previous intrusion. The logs scroll by in a blur of white text, but this time, they are clean. No unauthorized requests, no brute force attempts, just the rhythmic pulse of normal operations. I bring the secondary database online, then the mail servers, then the external gateways. With every service that initializes, the tension in the room begins to dissipate. The harsh, flickering light of the emergency state gives way to the steady, cool glow of the monitors. I check the bandwidth usage. It is stable, flowing exactly as it should. The network hums, a low, constant vibration that fills the space, replacing the frantic energy of the battle. I lean back in my chair, listening to the cooling fans spin down to a quiet, efficient whisper. The breach is sealed, the data is restored, and the environment is secure. The chaotic, jagged edges of the attack have been smoothed over by the recovery process. The system is no longer fighting for its life. It is breathing again, steady and controlled, fully back under my command. The technical battle is won, but the war is never truly over. I turn my attention to the final layer of defense, the people. I open the organization's acceptable use policy, my cursor blinking steadily against the document. I rewrite the access protocols, tightening the requirements for remote connections and mandating multi-factor authentication for every single internal node. The keyboard clicks are the only sound in the room now, a rhythmic cadence of finality. I draft the schedule for mandatory phishing prevention training, blocking out the calendar for every department. I know that even the most sophisticated firewall can be bypassed by a single human error. I hit save, the document locking into the server's core. Outside the server room, the first light of dawn begins to bleed through the window blinds, painting the floor in long amber strips. The artificial hum of the hardware seems to soften as the natural world wakes up. I stand and walk to the window, watching the city below begin to stir. The realization settles in, heavy and clear. Technology is merely the shield, but the security policy is the hand that wields it. Without constant vigilance, without the human element trained to recognize the threat, the best code in the world is just a hollow shell. I have neutralized the breach, patched the vulnerabilities, and restored the system to full capacity. The threat is gone, the system is secure, and the silence feels like a victory.